AI didn't arrive quietly. It crashed into our lives, into the classrooms, into the companies, into boardrooms. Everyone today is talking about AI, but very few people lived its full journey. My guest, he started with AI when it lived in university labs, before the buzzwords, before funding decks, and before the hype. He built intelligent systems when AI meant engineering discipline, not demos. And today he sits with leaders and boards and asking the hardest AI question of all. Not can we build it, but should we build it? He's someone who has seen AI from the code, the classroom, and the boardroom. Welcome, Dr. Sam Lee, Global AI Leader and Board Advisor. Dr. Sam, welcome to 101 Talks.
Thank you for your introduction, and I'm happy to be here, sir.
Sam, before the titles, before leadership
Yeah.
roles, before AI became the loudest word in business, let's
Okay.
go back to the beginning. Let us take back to your university days. What kind of students were you really?
Okay. So I was actually an electrical student, so that's something is very different. So back then, I was doing a lot of electrical power engineering. So we actually tap into I would say energy systems and whatnot. And the kind of students that I was back then was always trying to find an answer towards the question. I think as so for all students itself, and always trying to get the right answer in that sense. Because you always want to have the perfect answer, you always try to find different ways of solving problems. So that kind of brought into my character into the problem solving industry. And me myself, for me, is that I'm very determined to actually get those answers out of the questions itself and try to find if there's a lot of ways to actually answer this question. And that actually brought me into my work career as well, as I realized that even though there was most likely one answer, but usually there's a lot of different ways to actually solving it. So for me, that is something that I always take myself, especially back in my university days, to my workplace. Another one that is very interesting was that when I was doing my PhD, so as a PhD student, it's a bit different as well. You're always trying to solve problem that you don't know whether there will be an answer. So that brings it to another stage of life as well. And that itself would actually bring me to actually questioning a lot of things. And at the same time, whether that particular answer, even some problems already has an answer. But you always tend to ask whether that is that the best answer that we can get as well. So those are different things that I would say describe me myself as a student back then. And I will feel that that itself was one of the character building stage during my student life as well, into my workplace. So that's generally how I am as a student.
Awesome journey. And before AI became the dominant conversation everywhere, what problem were you actually trying to solve in your career?
Okay, so I think so unfortunately when I entered into the industry, AI was not even a word yet. So I think that was
True.
I think either is a very early stage. So back then we were talking about data mining, pattern recognition, statistics. There was no such thing as AI, or data science even came slightly later. So how I got into the industry, into the AI field, is that when I was trying to solve certain problems in terms of energy management system, that means power distributions and whatnot like that, uh, I I stumbled into different formulas of statistics. And one of my very close colleague actually introduced me to AI. So
Okay.
machine learning back then. And he actually explained to me certain machine learning methods, which I find very fascinating, that the algorithms will actually adapt to the problem itself and the situation. Because back then when I was an electrical engineer, I'm not very strong at coding. So to me, coding is a lot of things you can build is like a rule-based system. So if else, and you have to guess a lot of things. But when I was fascinated by the machine learning algorithms, the reason behind is because you don't have to set the if else rules that hard anymore, where you can actually adapt to the different kind of environment or range of environment and actually give you a particular answer. But that was very traditional back then. I think nowadays LLM is very different. So I would say that it's slightly different as well. So that got me into my first placing as a data scientist or as a data science role as well. And that itself was how I got into the career itself.
See, I want to stress on one thing, what you stated, because this is very important. You were into electrical engineering, but then you learned coding and because of the passion and you went to it. So there are
Yes.
few early career professionals and students who have that blinders on and they say that I have done this, I will go through this route, right? So
Yeah.
you must challenge yourself. That's what has happened with you, right?
Yes. So actually, interestingly, usually I, a lot of people when they hear my story, the first thing they are worried about is that can I even transition? But that question they always ask themselves is before they even started any process. And what I usually tell them is that if you haven't tried it out, then how will you know that whether do you really like it, or are you really suitable for it? So before you even get into stopping yourself or restraining yourself into getting into a particular new field or learning new things, you should always try to challenge yourself, although maybe it's out of your comfort zone. But you should always challenge yourself to see if by learning this, could I actually expand my skill sets as well as my capabilities into different domains. So I think those are a very important question that you should ask yourself as a young professional or very young adult yourself.
Absolutely. And there's something that stands out in your journey. You
Uh,
are working on multi-agent systems when AI wasn't the mainstream at all. The
yes,
MAS,
correct.
what we call the multi-agent systems.
Yes, correct.
Did you feel you like you were ahead of the curve?
So actually, very interestingly, back then when we were talking about multi-agent system, the concept of multi-agent system was very different. It was actually meant to be a protocol system that we used to help. Back then, we were trying to solve the communication between agentic systems itself. So particular single agent systems. And by 11 to 12 years ago, when I first started doing multi-agent system, we were just trying to find a way to connect different software systems, especially when you convert them into an agent, to actually come up with a communication protocol where they can work together and integrate their results. So that was a particular alignment towards it. So back then was still a very fundamental problem. Right now, I'm very fortunate because I think multi-agent system is something that is a very big thing in the AI world as well, because we are talking about agentic system that is actually being built right now. Do I feel ahead of the curve? So I do feel ahead of the curve in the sense that I already understood the fundamental reasons why multi-agent system exists. I think the only thing that was very different was that back then we didn't have a lot of LLMs. I don't think, maybe even LLMs has not really been fully matured. So that time was very different. And right now, actually, with LLMs itself, it's actually it's a very different multi-agent system we are looking at right now, where it has evolved so rapidly. Back then, we still have to use a lot of supervised learning, or I would say predictable outcomes, or even use statistical methods on our engineer system, especially a lot of expert-based system, which is rule-based as a fundamental. But nowadays, I think it is very good in the sense that I'm very happy that AI has actually moved along, where LLMs are actually driving all these fundamental reasonings. If you ask me, do I feel ahead of curve? I think slightly a bit because that was my PhD topic. But if you ask me if I'm deeply curious about a lot of different LLMs or different kind of results and whatnot, I think as well. And I think that itself was something that I'm very appreciative. I was very lucky. Yeah, I work on something that actually is something that the whole world actually understood in terms of the lingo right now. So I feel very fortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, you operate across enterprises, consulting, and academia.
Yeah.
Three very different worlds.
Mm.
How do you explain what you do to someone outside the AI bubble?
Okay, so this is something very interesting. I think a lot of people always try to make AI sound like a magic word that you will try to make your problems disappear and whatnot. So people always assume that AI can solve everything, especially outside of the AI industry itself. Even if you're not a practitioner, even you're a software engineer or whatnot, right, you would think that AI can actually resolve a lot of things. But usually what I tell people outside is that have you considered using AI to make your problem easier? Usually that's how I start with them. And they will ask me why do I not say that the AI will resolve my problem? Because I tell them that sometimes is you also need the human intelligence or the in-depth expertise to actually work with the AI to make sure that whatever results they are trying to give you is not outside of what you expect from your results itself. And that takes a lot of human interaction with the LMs or considerations in a sense to actually resolve this particular problem itself. And usually I tell them that you don't expect me, even though now LMs and agentic frameworks are very advanced, you don't expect to just throw it blindly and just just try to solve your problems like that and just leave it to them because you don't know what's going on. So usually you still would require some human resources to actually review the results, especially on how is the process really going. And by looking at the process, sometimes interestingly, although it's very advanced nowadays, you still can find a lot of things that you can optimize in terms of the process itself, or sometimes even the agentic framework got it wrong, even basic questions and basic answers. So I think those are things that people always get it wrong. In terms of they think that nowadays we can just use AI and it will solve all my problem. But I'm trying to tell you right now is that there's some level of human fundamentals that maybe you should still have to actually review the AI to actually make sure that they are really doing something that you expect them to do, and you can
Yes.
actually guide them along to what you want to see as a result as well. So I think those are things that is very important nowadays.
AI should make your life easier. You
Yes.
can expect AI to solve your life, right? The life has
Yeah.
to be
Correct.
solved by you. It has
Yes.
to make your life easier. True, very true. And what fascinates me is how your role has evolved. Your work today feels less about building models and more about shaping decisions, right? What
Yeah.
problem are you actually solving right now?
Okay, so I think that is something that is very different to me nowadays because I actually started as a data scientist or as an engineer, even as an engineer. So I started as an engineer. Back then, when we are working as an engineer, we are trying to solve technical problems. So we are not very concerned about the business outcomes, but we are very concerned about the engineering outcomes. I think those are things that is how I started my career in. I think that's also very important, to be honest with you. As I move along in my career, because I get into more management roles and whatnot, then does the engineering outcome really solve the business problems? So that's the question that I usually have.
Mm,
So nowadays I talk less about building models, although I still build
mhm.
them, interestingly. But I still trying to look at the business results as the priority right now. So because for me, one thing that I learned during my career is that even though I may create the most fascinating models or the best engineering work, but does it really solve a business problem? And there was a few times where I realized that it doesn't solve anything in the business itself. But you are actually building something that no one actually knows how to use. So is that something that you are really trying to solve? And that's something that got me thinking as well, that what kind of problem are we trying to solve really? And what I feel that in my career right now is that I'm trying to create solutions that's more impactful. And by being more and trying to create something that's more impactful, you have to understand what the business actually really require so that it can bring your system along to a lot more people. So I think that is something that I'm doing right now. And these are problems that I'm trying to solve right now as an AI strategist as well.
Wonderful. Naturally, it brings to my next question. Let's talk
Yeah.
about boardrooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, what do most boardrooms completely misunderstand about AI?
Okay, so as someone who has worked with board members before and being a board member myself for some of the smaller organizations, people misconception about AI is that because you're talking to people who doesn't understand AI, so that's quite common because I'm the expert in the room, right? They always want some tangible answers when they set their vision or mission for the company itself. And usually they expect certain outcomes in terms of matrices. So hard matrices. That means how many percent of improvement can we look at? Uh, how much uh, how much money do we need to spend to get certain outcomes? So I think in the AI world, it's harder to measure because these are things that is constantly evolving. And I think a lot of people understand unless even as a traditional data scientist myself, back then even when we talk about very old ways of machine learning, we can't even promise them that we will definitely solve their problem. Even solving the problem could be a question mark. So they always misunderstood in the sense that if I give for example, $1 million investment to a particular system, then it will definitely get 40% a reward by using AI systems itself. But that usually does not really happen 100%. So I think these are things that bots usually misunderstand. But I think one thing that I may want to give them advice is that I think the very important question that a lot of bots has is that misunderstood is that they think that AI would definitely solve a lot of problems as well, and they can give a hard matrix on how they're gonna solve it. But I think whenever you get a technology board member or AI board member in, usually they only can tell you that how do they think that AI can bring the company forward and what kind of problems do they envision that AI could actually resolve for them, but not in the hard matrix way, but in terms of a visionary way. And usually those are better to align with because those kind of directions are usually more in line with the industry itself. Because I
Oh,
think a lot of people, I think AI has changed for the past, even last 1 year, has
mm.
actually completely changed as compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago. It has 100% changed. So I think these are things that board members have to understand that even by setting those alignment and trying to solve your business problem, can try to look at a directional level rather than I would say a hard matrix level that definitely you can get optimization of processes like that. So I think those are things that I would say about the boardrooms.
They must think long term. That is
Yes,
the
correct.
main advice, right? And next comes a challenging question.
Mhm.
You have made a statement that challenges a lot of assumptions. You have said the CAIO, that is the
Yeah.
Chief Artificial
AL.
Intelligence Officer, is not the head of ML, machine learning. Why does this distinction matter so much?
Okay, so I think this is a very important thing because let me explain a bit of the difference in the distinction first. In a sense. So the head of ML usually would be someone who has a lot of experience in machine learning, and because he has a very, I would say, very good judgment about machine learning itself, and because of the accumulation of a lot of experiences, so he was nominated to being the head of ML because he also has certain level of management skills and he's able to do certain level of machine learning strategies like this for the company itself. However, as a chief AI officer, so chief artificial intelligence officer, as you mentioned earlier, rather than just looking at machine learning or artificial intelligence, even at a broader sense, you need to know about the various different functional teams. How does it impact them? And how does that impact the particular company that you're working for in terms of the competitive space as well? And how does that align with the other C-suites along in the business objective and in the business direction? So I think these are the main distinctive traits of those roles. And as someone who has been a chief technology officer myself, a chief data officer as well, back then it was still quite initial.
Yes.
We usually have to handle even business aspects of things, trying to understand what the board members are looking for, trying to understand what our CEO strategy is trying to achieve, as well as trying to understand whether this will impact our stakeholders, especially at the point of time you still have to manage shareholders as well. So there's a lot of different business I would say business aspects to it you need to take into consideration before you do a certain system. I do remember, so it's just a bit of sharing on my personal
Yes.
experiences
Yes.
that I do remember that I still have to look into accounting books, even trying to understand whether buying a certain system from certain region will affect my taxes as well, even though it comes from the same company. So that's very interesting itself. And I actually learned all those things and I have to make a technical decision to see if whether by changing this, does it affect our technical output or technical solutioning and whatnot. So those are things that you need to take into account as, I would say a C-suite being in the technology space or being in the AI space itself. However, head of ML usually does not interact with that much of a diverse functions. So I think when you become the head of ML, that's not the end of your technological career, definitely. By then you're trying to resolve problems that is not specifically just technical, but how do you assimilate your solutions to different functional teams, work with them, especially how does it really impact your whole organization as a whole, as well as your, I would say, depending on your product, then your final customers itself. Those things are very important in a business, especially if you're in the business where you have a lot of you're in a very small business that's not yet established, where cash flow is very important. But if you're already in a very big so MNCs and whatnot, then these are things that you may want to learn as you go ahead of your career as well. So that itself is a very important distinction between the CAIO and a head of ML, in my opinion.
That's very insightful. That has given us a lot of clarity on this, right? And in the process, we understood how both the operations, both the roles work, is what we
Yeah.
understood. Yeah. Thank you for that. And I want to zoom out. and
Okay.
get to where my student audience have a
Mm.
lot of questions in mind. The main question is, in this world, what should students actually be learning in this
Okay.
era?
Okay. So actually, students in this era should be more concerned about spending time, I'll say, learning about the AI tools and systems itself. I would say not specifically, not saying you have to learn how the algorithm works and whatnot like that. I'm talking about in general sense. You need to know what AI tools are there available in the world. It's the same situation as us actually. When the internet just pop up, we have a lot of search engines that was competing against each other. We must know which search engine is
Very
better. Yeah. So I think those are things that is very important, especially when we talk about what Windows OS, even Mac OS, and what is better, what is worse. So the more things that you learn about what kind of tools is available, actually it gives you a edge in terms of getting your work done. Especially sometimes it gives you more efficiency in getting a result or into I would say a problem that you're trying to solve using AI itself. So the more tools that you have, of course, the more strength you have in terms of disposal and you understand them. So I think that's one aspect to it. The second aspect towards AI, I would say already a world that's dominated by AI, is very important in the sense is your expertise skills, in-depth expertise skills itself. Because I think some misconception that AI can do a lot of things or everything. Sometimes it still cannot. It fundamentally can do certain level of calculation or certain level of replacement. I would say, of course, there's some level of replacement. The question to yourself is that how can you add value to the AI as well as the industry itself? So now let's say AI is available to you. How do you use the AI to add value to the industry? And what kind of things can you actually use the AI for in terms of what is lacking of? So usually AI are lacking in terms of a lot of people was talking about like in-depth expertise, professor level math or questions and whatnot like that. It's actually quite true in the practical world where AI is still not that reliable in terms of producing expert opinions or expertise results, but it can already do certain level of fundamental of foundation. So the question to a lot of the students itself are more like, don't worry about it, but please focus on those in-depth skills that you can build. That I think will still need some time to actually understand. And after even they understood it, you could be the fact checker for those processes, and it could be that the way that the AI actually has done it is not the best way moving forward as well. Then how do you actually adapt to it as well? So I think those are a few concerns or few aspects of learning that the students should actually have.
Because tools will change, models will evolve,
Yes.
right?
Right.
It's the expertise what is required.
Yes, exactly.
What skills will matter more than technical brilliance in AI driven workplace? Any specific skills?
Okay. Just like I talk about, this is definitely one of them. But of course, adaptability is the key one that I felt. Why? Because as you mentioned rightly earlier, and what do I say is that if you realize a lot of things has changed over the years, and through our conversation, if you look it up, it's I've been talking about changes and a lot of evolutions, revolutions. Then you need someone who can adapt towards the time because even today there are traditional there are a lot of people still using traditional machine learning methods, and there's a reason why they use it. But in the sense that does LLM really require those systems right now as well? So those are a few questions that you need to ask if resources isn't a problem for you, right? And I would say that if you adapt accordingly to the times, maybe in the future it may have some new names, and I'm not sure how it's going to turn out in the future as well, depending on the industry. Then whenever the new tool comes in, you shouldn't be very resistant into actually adapting them. It's more like by adapting them, would it make your work or does it expand your skills even? So those are a few things that you may want to ask yourself. Because for
Yeah.
me, very importantly is that when LLM just came out, especially when agentic coding just came out, code agents came out, it actually improved my understanding of HTMLs and I would say front end engineering itself. I did not because I'm not a front end person. Actually, it helps me to understand more and try to see what kind of technical aspects of it could I actually improve on. And I use code agents to actually help me out. Although nowadays we call it vibe coding, which actually has infamous word towards it as well. I would say that uh I would say that those are things that, depending on your perspective of it, would actually also improve your skills moving forward because it could actually come up with solution that you have not thought of it before. But the very important thing that a lot of people should actually have when using all these vibe codes is that don't depend on it to give you the solution, but depend on it to give you the initial thoughts or initial draft of the solution. I think those are things that you need to take into consideration. And
Yeah,
that's why I think that,
the outline is
yes,
what is you must depend on, not the
yes,
complete
correct.
solution.
Yes, not a complete solution. So the outline, the process allow it, and you can problem back and forth for it in terms of building up what you think should be the way forward as well. So that's why I think adaptability first and foremost is very important because things changes and your thoughts has to be more open minded. What may not have interestingly, this is very interesting as well as I go through my career. There are some instances where in the past people will tell you, oh, I tried this before, it doesn't work. But they did not take into consideration that today's environment is very different, and there are things that may work today that didn't work back then. But also, there's also a reverse problem right now as well, where what did not work today actually worked in the past as well. And why is that so?
Yeah, let me pause you there for a moment.
Yeah.
Can you explain it more broadly for our audience,
Okay.
what you just said?
So so explain more
The reverse
broadly
part
in
of it.
just river. Okay, so let me explain that. So interestingly, nowadays when we go, so I just give an example in general, so everyone will understand the AI industry. So now we talk about LLMs. Then people are talking about SLMs because of resource constraints. So the question to I have a lot of questions to people who are building SLMs as well. I think it's a very novel thing, but SLMs are not exactly very small as well. They are still quite a large thing. So back then we still call them LLM. Even Bird back then we call them LLM. But
Yeah.
SLMs are supposed to be smaller than Bird itself. But before SLMs, what are we? How do we actually resolve all these problems? Actually, we actually use traditional neural network to actually resolve all these problems in terms of resources constraint, right? But before neural networks, how do we actually solve those problems as well? And we actually use
Okay.
statistical methods. It becomes more fundamental. It goes down one level, it goes down one level, it goes down one level. And by actually going to the very lowest level itself, do we really need that much resources anymore? That is the question that I wanted to ask everyone. Usually, if that very simple method could actually resolve your problem, and maybe the initial training could actually resolve it, then you would not have spent so much time actually just creating the SLM just so that you remove all those skill sets. So, but that itself, you need to have some level of in-depth expertise because you need to understand the algorithm well, as well as some level of feature engineering to actually get the results that you want. So I think that especially this is really true, especially to the newer generation of AI professionals, where they think that LLM is the start of the AI world, which is actually not really true nowadays. But I would say that those are very important things that you need to think about. And how did these people actually come back around again? That's the reason why I say adaptability is something that's very important. And you can imagine these people coming from those skill set and now to LMs as well, it takes a while. So I think
Yes.
that is some example that I can give you when I more professionally in the workplace right now. But I say that those are things that I would say the reverse portion where maybe very, very fundamental algorithms could already resolve your problems and you do not, and maybe you're so narrow-minded on LLMs and that gives up a lot of wastage of resources as well. Yeah.
True, true. Absolutely. This has given us a lot of clarity on this.
Yeah.
One thing every one of us should know is the LLMs was not the beginning of the AI, right?
Yes,
There
correct.
has been a journey of 30, 40 years behind it.
Yes,
There has
exactly.
been a AI chatbot also, which was 20, 15 years
Uh,
behind. I forgot its name now.
Eliza, is it? I think
Eliza,
yes, from
Eliza,
Apple.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you are coming to the AI journey, learning AI, you must know that evolution also, right? To better understand is what you conveyed, right? Very rightly on that.
Yeah.
Let's bring this conversation closer to my home, India.
Okay.
India has talent, scale, and ambition, but where are we falling short in AI leadership?
Okay. So I don't think that Indians are falling behind the AI leadership itself. Because I think maybe a bit of a context towards this because in the past, before even AI or I'll say software become a very big thing, Indians are the one who actually build up. They are very good at building up all the infrastructures of the IT world. I think back then it was called just IT, right? Especially like internet protocols and even
Yes.
cybersecurity. you are very good at a lot of all those kinds of things. And usually you see a lot of Indian professionals actually doing all these jobs, and rightfully so, because I know a lot of Indian professionals who actually has a very good skill sets in those. So I don't think you are falling short. It's just that the expertise that you are more focused on are very different from maybe the other countries where algorithms the reason why China, US, maybe even Singapore, I guess Germany as well, we are very good at AI. The reason behind is because AI is more, you have to understand math very well. And these countries actually invest a lot on mathematical trainings in the students itself. And as you can see, so I'm not bringing this up just to say anything, but you can see that usually the people who are in the AI war, the talents that is being brought over are all Chinese, mostly all Chinese, and that's the reason behind is because they actually in the past they spent a lot of money on developing their mathematical skills in this culture itself. So I think that was the key reason why. And I would say that is itself the fundamental difference in terms of what kind of expertise are you trying to get into. Because I know a lot of Indians professionals or Indians experts in a lot of other areas as well. Like I know a lot in management consulting firms. They are very good in consulting, and you know that they are very good at running business as well, because you can see that the top US companies, their CEOs, Indians in that sense. So I think maybe it's just a different type of skill set. But I would say that definitely you are not short in the AI leadership roles, because you can be the AI leader if you want to. I think there's enough people to actually do that. But it's more like, is that really the focus of your country itself? I think that's also another question that you all may want to ask yourself.
Yeah, true. Well put. This is a great insight. And let's light up a bit. Let's get into the rapid fire.
Okay.
First instinct, what comes to your mind, right?
All right.
Let's go. Coffee, tea, or too busy to notice?
Coffee.
Coffee. One book that changed how you think.
I think there was a book back then was like 90 Days to a Row. So that was one book that changed my mind about how you
Wow,
can actually
90
structure
days?
the first 90 days, sorry, the first 90 days
First 90 days.
of your yeah, the first 90 days of your that was the first time that changed my thought on whether how you can structure your first 90 days in the company itself and how you approach things. That
Wow.
is one book that actually changed how I think.
I will make a note of
Yeah.
it in the description
Okay.
also. First thing you do when you wake up, use notification or silence or something else.
Silence. For me,
Silence.
silence. I like silence, yes.
Good habit to have. One skill AI never replace.
Human intelligence and observation.
What
Yeah.
subject bored you most in school, but now matters the most?
So interestingly, the one that bought me the most was the social aspect of classes. So mostly like you have to work in a team, but right now it matters to me the most because I manage a lot of teams, a lot of people, and I realized that by having better social aspects, skill sets, it will actually bring a lot of efficiency within the team itself. So that's the reason why I think now it matters the most for me.
And
Yeah.
most overrated AI buzzword right now.
So the most overrated AI buzzword right now is all the LMs, the language models. So they like to call it large, small, mid, whatever like this. But actually all of
Yes.
them are still pretty big. So how do you even consider them as how do you even differentiate them, right? A lot of people also have this problem differentiating them. So all the LMs, I think nowadays they should just call it something else, because nowadays I think it kind of dilutes the words itself. LM, even Bird was called LM back then. So how do you now you can't call it LM anymore? So I don't know how does it gonna be work out. But I think those are the buzzword that needs to be changed or maybe slightly formalized. I think that would be good as well.
If AI makes one executive role in corporate obsolete, doesn't exist, which one is it?
I think usually those roles, it happens. I have to be honest with you, it happens. But usually those roles are roles that is more, I would say, consistent. That means you're doing the same thing every day. So those roles are more in risk if AI could
Repetitive
actually replace.
tasks.
Yes, correct, very predictive tasks, and I would say administrative and predictive tasks would get replaced. I think those are very important, especially if things that should stay the same. So more things that is more compliance related usually have to stay the same. Unless compliance always changes, like AI governance and whatnot. Those are things that may always evolve. So for me, I would say consistent work, those roles that has consistent work. But interestingly, I think labor work will be more value in the future. So I think those are things that maybe you should have a thought about.
Like your carpenters,
Yes,
the plumbing, and
yes, correct.
these roles will become much more important in the future.
Yeah, I think those roles will become more valuable in the future because I think unless we can build a robot can actually do all this, so that there is more hardware aspects of things already. So those kind of very hard labor kind of job, maybe the value would change according to the time of the existence of AI as well. So possibly, I'm just saying in that case. So that's one thing that maybe everyone should ponder about.
And we come to the end of rapid fire, but
Yeah.
I want to ask a last question. This one's not
Okay.
technical, a bit more philosophical. Does strong AI governance protect innovation or quietly kill it?
So this itself, I would have an argument towards it, but of course, usually I would say that whenever you create an innovation product or innovative products, you should not even think about any governance or like that. So you should actually build a product to see if it actually works in the first place and it actually works towards what you want. Does a strong AI governance actually protect it or quietly kill it? Actually, any governance or even accounting governance or a lot of different kind of governance itself. Usually the AI governance is there to help you establish a better product in terms of the human society itself. So the AI governance is there to not say kill the product itself. I wouldn't say exactly protecting the product, but the AI governance is there to protect the people actually using it. So that's very important. Distinguish because this AI governance there is actually to usually AI governance is there or whenever certain policy is being built, it's actually to help human beings or consumers to actually elevate their own potential without causing a long-term harm towards it, as well as businesses who actually use this AI governance to actually help them think clearly before they actually push out a particular product on how it will end up in the end consumer space. So it helps them to think through all this. And I would say that it enhances their product instead of killing it. But I would not, but I would say that the protection itself is actually to humanity itself, because in the sense that we are having a lot of humans interacting with AI products nowadays, and it's widely accepted as well. And I think that human by doing this, the human interaction would not be in a way in terms of the social context, not wrongly guided. Especially as you see a lot of news that people actually went to ChatGPT to ask for medical advice or some very distorting kind of advice as well as it goes. Those are things that what AI governance could actually protect as well. So these people that is actually using it. And a strong AI governance, I believe, can actually protect all these people or in terms of or from a human social level itself on what uh, could be prevented. I think that's a very important thing to establish as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So we come to the end of the conversation.
Yeah,
This conversation wasn't about tools or trends. It was
yeah.
more about responsibility and leadership in the age of intelligence. AI will keep moving fast. The real question is whether our thinking can keep up. Sam, thank you for the clarity and perspective.
Thank you, Sachin.
And to everyone listening, if this conversation made you pause, question, and rethink, then it's job done. Thank you.